Okay, I am running extremely late. Apologies. I am a Gen Xer and I don't know how to use new technology very well. Apologies. So I'm not even gonna tell you what I did. No, I will. I've been sitting here talking, assuming that I was live, and I was not live. So, for those of you that hung around, I see I got two viewers. Peace. What's going on? So, uh, hang on just a second. So, yeah, peace. Welcome to the initial broadcast of uh, the Gospel Ecclesia, or the rebroadcast. Allow me to reintroduce myself. Uh, Shout out to Hove, um, one of my favorite rappers. Always wanted to say that. So this is uh, the first broadcast from video of the podcast, The Gospel Ecclesia. I started the Gospel Ecclesia back in 2017. Oh, and by the way, my name is D Freezy, aka Ecclesia for Sheezy. Um, you know, yeah. So I'm trying to work out the bugs. So pardon me, it's a little bumpy right now, but we'll get there anyway. So yeah, I started in 2017 on SoundCloud, and it was just audio. Uh, and then life, life be life, and so I stopped for a number of years. And few people had reached out to me and said, when are you coming back with the podcast? And so I said, no time like the present, and here we are. So as I said, I'm D Freezy, aka Cleasy for Sheezy. So and this is the Gospel of Cleasy. I am a North Carolina boy, Southeast North Carolina to be exact. Shout out to the 910. Uh, I was raised, not born, but raised there, um, right outside of Wilmington, North Carolina. I currently reside in the RDU, the Bull City, Durham, North Carolina. Shout out to the Bull. Been here, came here in 1993, and went to North Carolina Central University. Did not complete my degree, but I did meet the person who would go on to be my spouse. Um, from there, we uh, went to Champaign, Illinois, stayed for a couple years, uh, came back, and I finally finished my undergraduate degree at North Carolina Wesleyan University in business accounting. Shout out to the Battling Bishops. So that's a little bit about my educational background. Uh, in my spare time, I also like to work in the community as best as I can. Um, few of the people I work with are um, Brother Paul Scott. If you are a black person in Durham, you should know Brother Paul Scott, Black Messiahs, and the Militant Mind Militia. Shout out to them. Um, Try to work with him in the community and a number of others. Shout out to brother Amon Muhammad, Mos 34. Good brother. Uh, have worked with him before in the community. And we just try to reach out and do what we can to address the needs of our community. And I also am the chairman of the Black Liberation Action Committee. It's a political action committee, uh, Black Liberation Action Committee of Durham, dedicated to the economic and dedicated to the liberation of the Nubians. And when I say Nubian, uh, I'm referring to people of African descent. Some people call them black, some people call them colored, some people call them whatever. I'm not interested in getting into a semantic argument about what we call ourselves. Um, we know who we are, and they know who we are too. So, not interested in that. If I say black, not interested in a debate about, well, you shouldn't say black and all that. That's, in my opinion, that's counterproductive. Um, we need to be talking about what whatever we're referring to ourselves as are going to do about those that mean to oppress us. So, I head up that as the chairman. We try to be involved in our local politics in our community, and it's very important. I know we're in a political season now, and everybody's focused on the national election between, excuse me, Vice President Kamala Harris and the other guy. Uh, but the political process takes place all the time, not just 4 years, and uh, you shouldn't you should focus more on the politics of your community because they impact your day to day life much more than uh, the presidential election on a day to day level. Any money that is sent from the federal government to the states goes through the hands of your local officials, and they're the ones who decide where the money is going to be spent. So you need to know who those people are. You need to get them on the record about issues that affect you, and you need to vote for the ones that say they are interested in your issues, and vote against the ones that say they are not. Um, and that's the thing I think a lot of people get frustrated behind because I hear a lot of people say, well, it don't matter, and uh, you know, um, and I understand the argument. I'm not saying that they're necessarily 100% wrong, but uh, you know, it does matter because it matters because all you can do is vote for the person that is, you know, we're in a two-party system. Um, that's probably a bit antiquated, and we should update it. I think I've said before, it should probably be about five uh, national political parties that have a chance at uh, the White House or the presidency, because as a cross section of America, we're not binary like that. We're not red or blue. We're all the colors in between, right? So, um, by forcing us into these two boxes, you know, a lot of people say it's the illusion of a choice. It's not really a choice, and there is some merit to that. So I can't say that they're completely wrong, but I can say that what you want to do is you don't really basically only have a choice between two. You want to, well, black people have always um, been pragmatic and picked the one that did them the least harm. Um, you know, they try to trick us with a lot of this. Uh, oh well, uh, the Republicans freed the slaves. Well, that shows that you don't have like a very good understanding of the history of this country and the history of the political parties of this country. Because yeah, they did. Uh, Lincoln was a Republican, if I'm not mistaken, but there was a whole lot that went on between Lincoln and Barry Goldwater. And I say Barry Goldwater for a reason, right? Because that's when the big switch happened. Um, look at something called the Southern Strategy and a man named Lee Atwater. If you want to look more into that. So yeah, the purpose of this show is, excuse me, the purpose of this show is just to provide a safe space for Black people. Um, if you're on YouTube right now watching this, there is a number. Should be in the banner. If you don't see it, let me know. That means I messed something else up. So don't it's no big deal. We'll get it fixed. A one man show. So I hope to I reserve the right to get better. I'll put it that way. And yeah, if you want to call in, this the other thing. When I was doing it uh, on SoundCloud and it was just audio, someone suggested to me that I make it like a more interactive, and allow people to call in. So if you don't see the number is 910-430-9595. You know, as we talk about stuff, if you want to call in, please do. I love to hear, you know, from people, because what I hope that I gain from this is that I learn, you know, as much as I can teach, you know, I'm apprehensive about calling myself a teacher, because I don't have any kind of credentials for teaching or anything like that. But um, you know, one thing. So I'm formally educated as, I guess, a business background, but my passion is history. Um, I spend a lot of time reading. I'm an avid reader. I read a lot about history, different eras, different, you know, times, different geographic locations, and so that kind of shapes my worldview and my view about politics and some of the things I see go on. So also, you know, the saying goes, history repeats itself, and that's true to a degree. If you, I'm sorry, yeah, if if you read history enough, you will come to I'm sorry, yeah. If you read history enough, you'll come to see patterns, and so that will inform you sometimes when things are beginning to happen again. Lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Uh, like I said, I reserve the right to do better. Um, bear with me. One thing I'm going to do during this show is try to provide sources for the information I give you. If I if it's an opinion of mine, I'm going to say it's an opinion and try to not portray it as something that is uh, documented or coming from some kind of scholarly work. If it's my opinion, I'm saying in my opinion, I will try to say that. If not, I'll try to provide a source. And what I hope to do by doing that is have you research it for yourself. One of the other things I want to do is, excuse me, one of the other things I want to do is try to learn as much as from you guys as you learn from me. One thing I realized is, you know, time is infinite, but lifetimes are finite. So it's no way possible for me to read and research everything I either want to read and research or need to read and research. So I give out information in the hopes that other people will look into it, and then by doing that, it'll lead them to something else. Then maybe they will bring something back to me, and we can grow and learn from each other. That's my hope. And some people say, "Oh, you just think you're smart." I'm like, no, you think you're smarter than everybody else. I don't. I know I'm not smart. I'm not. I don't really. I think I'm of average intelligence. Um, I just read a lot, and you know, that shapes how I look at things. I wanted to talk about some of the people that have inspired me and some of the people that I listen to and kind of use to kind of shape my perspective on things. So when I started doing the Gospel Ecclesi podcast, I I was listening to Reggie Osei, aka Combat Jack. That's the first podcast I think I ever really listened to on a regular basis. And the way he interviewed his guests and got them to tell stories, and the richness of the stories, and the way he asked the questions that made them the way he made them comfortable enough to talk about you know a lot of things that I've seen people interview and couldn't get those stories. It just it just made me want to try it, because I like talking to people, and I think that, you know each person is a university to a degree. You can learn so much from just from talking to people. The right information, networking, things of that nature. I like talking to people and finding out about them and finding out what they like, and so that's why I started. And I think Tax Zone, which is you know not everybody's cup of tea, but he was just shout out to Tax Zone, rest in peace to Reggie Osei. Um, his brand of humor was just so genuine, and he was so natural at it that I really like went into overdrive and wanting to do a podcast. So shout out to Peace on the Next Plane to Reggie Osei, aka Combat Jack. Shout out to Tax Stone. Hold your head. I know you're not watching. You may not ever see this, but I just wanted to say you had a big influence on me. Uh, Someone I listen to now is Carl Nelson on the Carl Nelson Show. I think, and I'm probably gonna mess the call letters up, but I think it's WBOL. Um, it's the show. It's the radio station owned by Kathy Hughes, um, out of DC and Baltimore. He has guests on that you wouldn't hear probably anywhere else, and like Brother Ashwa Kwesi, um, Dr. Jerome Fox, uh, Dr. Gerald Horn. If you are a black person in America and you don't know who Dr. Gerald Horn is, you're drastically behind the curve. He, in my opinion, is one of the most brilliant men I've ever listened to. He is, and he's articulate and he can explain it in a way that you understand things. And as far as geopolitics goes, I've never heard anybody better. You know, another brother I'm friends with on social media and know from the community, Brother Raheem Shabazz. He has a podcast. Um, I think it's Wise the Dome. Shout out to Wise the Dome. He's had Dr. Gerald Horn on. I'm a novice, as evidenced by my uh, technical difficulties today. So I wouldn't dare ask him. I would be intimidated by Dr. Gerald Horn, but follow Raheem on Wise the Dome and go and look at that interview with Dr. Gerald Horn. Carl Nelson has Dr. Gerald Horn on quite a bit. And if you can catch him, you should. You will be more informed than you were before you heard him. So shout out to Carl Nelson. Also, I'm pleasantly surprised with, well, I ain't gonna say pleasantly surprised, I take that back. I'm impressed with Cameron and Mace's show. It is what it is. I, I they are up in the game. Shout out to Cameron, shout out to Mace. I thought that when the Locks destroyed them in the verses that Dipset was done, Cameron, like a Harlem dude, just moved right on, and they segued into this. And I know one that had nothing to do with the other, but I'm just saying, like, we don't even. I mean, we remember the verses. I know I do. Nobody's ever gonna forget Jadakiss. Man, shout out to Jada. Shout out to the Lock. Shout out to D Block. Nobody's ever gonna forget that night. That was one of the good things about COVID. But back to what I was saying, Cameron and Mace, they, are changing the game. And what I really like is when it comes to racial issues, they don't back away from it. They are not a part of the machine, and they don't have to toe the company line like someone on ESPN or Fox Sports or somebody like that. They go right at it. They address the elephant in the room. So shout out to them, and I hope they continue, and I hope they have continued success. Another person I listen to, comedian Corey Holcomb. He has a unique way of expressing his opinion. Shout out to Corey. Shout out to the 5150 show. Shout out to Craig. Shout out to Darlene. You know, I'm not gonna say I agree with Corey about everything he says. I don't think anybody agrees with anybody, but he makes his position known in a way that only he can. And you know, I've listened to him. I've listened to him for quite a while, and so I enjoy him. So I just wanted to shout out some of the people that I listen to. Another show that I a podcast I listen to is on NPR called Throughline. Um, they go through different historical events and break it down and tell you the context and backstory as much as you can in a hour or two podcast. But it was recommended to me by a friend, and I'm a big fan. I know, you know, people have opinions about NPR, and I do too. But that show is it's pretty good. They've done, you know, with the stuff going on in Gaza, they've done the history of Zionism, something we're going to talk about on this show. I'm going to do my best not to be labeled or, you know, black. Well, I'm black, so I'm going to say I'm not to be whiteballed for saying something that could be interpreted as hateful. But what we are going to do is address the facts. And one of the facts being, you know, that the label they try to put on us. We need to define things. Confucius said the beginning of wisdom is to call things by their proper names. So that's what we're going to do. We're not going to play word games and let, you know, them try to trick us by using language, which is what happens a lot of times. And you know, they say one thing and it's interpreted another way. So we need to get down to the bottom of it and clearly define things and make sure everybody is using the same definition. That's another thing. That's why a lot of times we talk past each other. I see back and forth on social media, and the two people are actually saying the same thing, but they're saying it in a different way, and they're both so um, so beholden to their position or so apprehensive about letting it go that they don't realize that they agree more than they disagree. And I'm guilty of it sometimes myself. Um, so yeah, we're gonna do that. So moving on. So like I said, we're gonna talk about news, politics, and entertainment. That's gonna be the topics. And I had an intro, but like I said, I'm Gen X, so everything I'm learning on the fly, and I will get better as we go along. So the big thing in the news world is the Olympics, right? Is anybody been watching the Olympics? You know, I love the track and field. I love so Sister Shakari, shout out to her. Um, she got silver. The young lady from St. Lucia, Julian Alfred. Julian Alfred she was on a mission. I saw them race in the race before um, the qualifying round or the semifinal, I think. And Shakari caught her. Well, she didn't catch her, but I thought that Shakari backed off and was saving it for the final. And you know, when in the blocks, when Sister Alfred came out the blocks, I don't know. I mean, explosion is not the right word. I'm at a loss for words, but she was so far ahead out of the blocks that nobody could get her back. And so Shakari finished second. I love Sister Shakari. I love Sister Simone Biles, Sister Jordan Childs. Uh, you know, Brother Noah. He won today. I haven't seen it yet. Well, I saw it, but it was close. He was behind the brother from Jamaica. Hey, the brothers and sisters in Jamaica can run. I had the opportunity to go to Jamaica last year. I guess they can run because they do a lot of walking, more walking than I think we do here in America, from what I saw. Anyway, Um, Shout out to them. But the interesting thing to me was in the 100, which is that's the big one, right? That's just really what they use to determine who the fastest person in the world is. They were they were from Britain. They were from uh, Sweden or Switzerland, one of those S countries. Um, but they were all Nubians. And when I say Nubians, I mean they were black people. So we're fast. That's why you can't. That's why you can't get a bunch of us at the same time. You don't see a bunch of us getting caught up in a mass casualty because we move. That's in the DNA. So shout out to the motherland for blessing us with that. Um, Other thing is Tropical Storm Debbie. If you're on the East Coast, Debbie is made landfall in Tampa, and the news report I heard this morning, they said the Georgia South Carolina line was going to get the most rainfall, but they expected to stall in North Carolina. So, uh, and if you've been in North Carolina this past week, you know we've gotten a lot of rain. So, um, do what you can to make preparations because Debbie is a slow moving um, storm that is expected to drop a significant amount of rainfall in the next 7 days. So I would advise you to get your bread and your milk, get your eggs. You know how we do in North Carolina. We get the eggs and the milk and bread. We're gonna get that. And if you got a generator, you might want to gas it up. If you're in a low lying area, you might want to be thinking about somewhere you can stay. I know where I'm from is just a few miles above sea level. We're half an hour from the coast, so we have had a lot of rain before. So I'll be thinking about them and making phone calls. But we've been through this before. Looks like we're getting ready to go through it again. So yeah. So politics, like I said, politics. I was deeply interested in national politics before the last president. I'm not gonna call him by his name. I ain't got it. I ain't got. You know what I'm talking about? The goofy one. Um, but during that, I had to check out. I couldn't mentally process the foolishness that I was seeing, and what I will say is, um, as the chairman of Black and as the host of this show, I have no political affiliation to either party. Uh, I am a registered independent. Black is unaffiliated, non-connected. Um, we don't uh, pledge allegiance to either. We are for our interests, and whichever party speaks to our interests and gives us an indication that they are going to address our interests, we'll have a conversation with. So I will not on this show um, be endorsing either one uh, at this particular point in time. What I will say is I will tell you who I feel is not a good choice. The worst of the two choices. And it's that other guy that's running against the VP. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So this is what I'm hearing. Or she ain't black. Okay. I she's not white. Um, that's all I'll say about that. So that's my opinion. And if you feel differently, feel free to drop it in the comments or um, you know, send me a DM or whatever. Follow me on follow me on Facebook, The Gospel of Cleveland. Please, if you're watching now on YouTube, share, subscribe. Uh, excuse me. But yeah, I am not going to, for any reason, justify anything that took place in uh, the last presidential administration, not this current one. Um, it's amazing to me, and you know there are some lessons we should. Now we've had a person of color as the commander in chief, president of the United States before. There are some lessons we should have learned from that. One of those lessons being you can't, and this is any politician. First you got to understand, regardless of the color they are, they're a politician, and they are going to, um, they're going to campaign, they're going to make promises, and if you don't ask for anything, the likelihood of you even getting a promise is very low. So what you should do is get, try to talk to them, or have a representative talk to them on your behalf and ask them for something. Because what I heard during the Obama presidency was, well, he didn't do enough for black people. I agree. I agree 100%. But what I will say is, what did black people ask for? What substantive policy did we ask for before we voted? Because you can't ask after he's won, because now he doesn't really need your vote until he runs for reelection. But again, when he ran for reelection, did we? The other thing is, who, when we are talking to people at that level, who's our representative? Is it the NAACP? Is it the Urban League? Um, those are the only two organizations on a national level that I know of in the Congressional Black Caucus. Wow, Congressional Black Caucus. Man, I don't. We'll talk. We'll talk. I'll talk more about my opinion on the Congressional Black Caucus, in later podcast episodes. But it's our leadership. It's a lot to talk about. I'll put it that way. But anyway, so this past week, and I wanted to come out last week, but things didn't come together for me in the way I wanted to. So in the last couple of weeks, we know there was there was an assassination attempt on the other guy, and yeah, I won't go down the rabbit hole. What I would say is, this is the biggest, and they're saying it, so I feel comfortable saying it. I'm just repeating what I've heard. This is the biggest failure by um, the Secret Service in probably the history of the agency. And a lot of things, what I would say is, a lot of things happen that are unusual to me. Um, and there, yeah, a lot of things that happen were unusual to me, and I just don't understand. It was like a convergence of coincidences, and if you have more than one coincidence happening at the same event, I won't, like I said, I won't go down the rabbit hole. But what I will say is, am I probably have an unhealthy, like, obsession with the JFK assassination. I've watched the movie, I've everything everything that I can get my hands on about that. I have looked at, read, researched. Rob Reiner and Soledad O'Brien just did a great podcast on Apple Podcast called "Who Killed JFK." A lot of the information I already had heard before, but some of it I hadn't, especially um, some of the stuff about how some of the lesser known government agencies operate. I'll say it that way, because I don't want to. Some people say you're gonna get in trouble. I know, if I'm already in trouble probably, but like I told them, the information I give is not classified because I read it in a book. So I'm not giving out any information that um, the average person can't go and find in the library. So I'm you know I don't want the black vans to pull up at my house. If they do, and they tell me that I need to do something, I'm not Jason Bourne. I'm gonna comply. Like if they tell me to shut up, you won't probably won't see another episode from me. I'm gonna just keep it real. Like I don't want no smoke with them people. But like I'm not gonna be scared to tell the truth either. Like the truth as I know it, and I'm gonna show you where I got it from. So I'm not afraid, but I know what they're capable of doing. So it's no use of you know just putting your head in the guillotine. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not. I'm. You see these gray hairs on my face. I didn't get to be the age I am by you know taking unnecessary risks. I'll put it like that. You know, but so the other guy was at the National Association of Black Journalists this past week. Um, and it didn't go well. It went the way it always goes. He's outlandish and says crazy stuff. Um, and I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I don't know. I don't know if he knows we can see him and hear him because he contradicts himself like from sentence to sentence. It's amazing. Like I don't know if he's I don't know if he's cognizant that he's doing it. I don't, like, or does he forget what he said and just say whatever is appropriate in the moment? I don't know. But it's amazing. So he went on, and I thought I could share my screen and we could watch it, but it's not working either. And that's probably on me. But I wanted to watch it. Um, but he started off by saying basically that the the sister asked him some questions about him referring to different people as animals, and asked him, I think in essence, why we why black people should trust him. And he started off by saying that was a nasty question, and he had to wait for her for 45 minutes, and because the equipment wasn't working. So he basically said that, we was on CP time, and our shit was raggedy. Um, and I hope. Well, this is not. This is rated R, I guess. So this is just the first episode, but you're gonna hear some colorful things from me, especially depending on what's going on. So if you're easily offended, um, we probably won't be together long, and it's okay. But um, yeah. So he basically said that, and um, it just showed what we all know, and you really have black people out there right now saying, "How can you tell me he racist?" And I'm like, "Do you know about his history with you know real estate and basically restrictive home covenants in New York City, like not renting to people of color, and um, he doesn't have. I mean, you can tell by his interactions when he's around a group of black people. He doesn't. He's never been around us before. In you know in large numbers. He may have people that work for him, but like nobody on his level. But I'm interested to see they're talking about the debate now. Excuse me. I'm interested to see him debate VP Harris because I was raised by two black women, and he wasn't, and so I'm anxious to see how he's gonna behave. Well, and I don't know if they've debated. No, they haven't debated before. I don't think, because she was the VP. Um, I'm interested to see how he reacts when he is, he can't bully a black woman, and how a black woman responds when he tries. It's going to be an interesting thing to see that what right now he's saying he won't do it on ABC News. He wants to do it on Fox. Um, Previous reports were that he didn't want to do it, and I know he doesn't. I mean, if he knows like I know, he don't want to do it, but I want to see it. So, um, yeah, let's get it on. So yeah, so he went to the National Association of Black Journalists convention, and just it was horrible for him, but he doesn't think so, and he'll say something crazy. Um, what was I gonna say? Lost my train of thought. Yeah, okay. So yeah, the that's what I wanted to say. So yeah, the polls are showing that basically they're neck and neck now. And then here in North Carolina, we got Mark Robinson against Josh Stein for governor. Mark Robinson is a disgrace. I personally challenged him to a debate, or we challenged him. The squad challenged him to a debate. I think it was around reparations when he was lieutenant governor, and he never responded because he didn't want that smoke. Um, but he's another Tim Scott, I guess you could say. You know, I feel sorry for people like that because if you pay attention, the end for them is always the same. They, do all of that buck dancing and whatever you want to call it, soft shoe cooning. To use Tariq Nasheed's word, shout out to Tariq Nasheed. You know, that's another thing about me. I'm not going to try to take other people's credit for other people's work. If I heard it somewhere, I'm going to do the best I can to give credit to where I heard it from. I'm not going to do like some people. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna try to be original, or if it's clever enough and I want to use it, I'm gonna just say where I got it from. So I hate that. I hate people. You know what I hate? You know what I really hate? I hate people that retype memes. Like that is what is wrong with you? You're like a sociopath. Anyway, yeah. But the other thing. So yeah, the other thing I hear about Kamala is, well, she didn't win it the right way. Well, she was the VP. Biden stepped down. The reports I have, and I don't know, they haven't been confirmed, was that this was planned more than a year ago, and the plan was that the other guy would spin his wheels, attacking Biden about his age, attacking him about his cognitive ability, and then after the Republican National Convention, they would do this. And if that's what happened, that's brilliant. That might be a little too perfect, but that's the word I got. And I can understand that because you know the Republican Party had to pivot, and they had spent a lot of money on the guy they thought was going to be the guy. And he then they said, plot twist. So if they did that, good for them. I just don't think that guy should be in charge of anything. Maybe an ice cream stand or um, selling hot dogs at the Yankee games if New York are having. That's another interesting thing. I didn't think the brothers in New York mess with him, especially because of the Central Park Five. Shout out to the Central Park Five. I follow Santana Raymond on IG. Follow him. But shout out to all of them, Corey, Yusef. Um, I know I'm forgetting somebody. Anton. Shout out to them brothers, man. I can't imagine. I can't imagine. And you guys, we love you. I love you. And I'm sorry y'all had to go through that, but thank God y'all were exonerated finally. And y'all ain't the only ones that went through that. That's the sad thing. But yeah, shout out to y'all, man. Um, so like I said, I'm an avid reader. What another thing I'm gonna try to do is, talk about books that I'm reading or I have read. So right now, I am reading this book, City of Quartz by Mike Davis. It's about Los Angeles, and the part I'm in now is early Los Angeles, like early 20th century, late 19th century Los Angeles. A couple of interesting things I've learned so far are um, so there was a socialist town. Um, the people, some of the people, I guess, that had come west and went to LA and didn't like the way that it was being run by the wealthy people, moved up to a little town called Llano, Lano, California, and started a socialist town where they basically, communal town, and they grew a lot of their own food. They schooled, themselves, their children, and they basically lived together. And they was unceremoniously shut down by the elites of Los Angeles by cutting off their water. Los Angeles was a desert, from what I'm learning in the book, and um, the guy, I think it's William Mulholland. Mulholland Drive is named after. So he must have invented an aqueduct to bring water to Los Angeles. And what they did to get rid of those socialists in Llano was cut the water off and say that they had lost rights to it, um, led by uh, the man who owned the LA Times. I think his name was Chambers, if I'm not mistaken. So that's one of the interesting things I learned. The other interesting thing I've learned so far is that it's a lot of occult shit going on in LA. L. Ron Hubbard from the Church of Scientology was a naval officer, and he met Aleister Crowley. You can Google him. And a guy from professor, jet propulsion professor from Caltech, if I'm not mistaken, who was also an occultist, or in his spare time, I guess. I mean, I don't know how occult shit work because I'm not in one. Um, and so L. Ron Hubbard fell in with them, and he was writing sci-fi, uh, short stories or what have you, and then he figured out how to enrich himself with Dianetics and later on the Church of Scientology. So those are two things I've learned. But I also learned about a brother named Chester Himes. He wrote a book called If He Hollers, Let Him Go, or Turn Him Loose. I might be getting that wrong. Anyway, he had worked for one of the studios until, I think it was Warner Brothers, until the head, one of the Warners, found out and said he wouldn't have an N word working for him. So a lot of racism. We know it's a lot of it's in America, right? Like Brother Malcolm said, everything below Canada is the South. There's, you know, and the reason I started reading City of Quartz is because I saw a documentary on gangs, on the origin of LA gangs, called Bastards of the Party. It's done by Cleve Bone Sloan. You might know Cleve from that little dust up with Suge Knight at the car wash. He was one of the victims, I believe, but I don't believe he died. The other brother may have died. But he did a documentary called Bastards of the Party. Um, it's hard to find. I think it may be on YouTube. And he references the book in that documentary. So that's how I learned about that book. Um, so yeah. And another book that I will talk about tonight is This one, Blood at the Root by Patrick Phillips. A Racial Cleansing in America, if you can see that. Yep. That is about Forsyth County. And in later shows, when I learn how to work everything, I'll share videos and we can look at them together, and discuss them. But in the early 20th century in Forsyth County, they had a incident where a white female was found brutalized in the woods at night, and they basically rounded up the first black people they could find to make suspects. And these people were hung later, but what they then did was systematically run every black person in Forsyth County out, and they stayed out for almost a century. I think the main city is Conyers. This is the district that Marjorie Taylor Greene is from, by the way. That's it'll make sense. So this is there was also a black town called Oscarville, Georgia, that was flooded. It's underneath Lake Lanier now. So a lot of people say Lake Lanier is haunted, and they say that's because the ancestors are pissed off. I think I'm not going in that water in Lake Lanier. I'm from the coast. We got plenty of water between here and there, so I'm a skip it. You can try it if you want to. I hope it goes well, but just know that there is a black town underneath that lake, Oscarville, Georgia. So yeah. So that's basically about all I wanted to talk about tonight. Like I said, this is my first time doing video. So bear with me. I will learn how to work the controls better as I go along. Oh, the other thing I want to talk about. So I'll talk about this briefly. Nancy Pelosi was on CBS Sunday morning. I usually watch that every Sunday before. That's my Sunday ritual, I guess. And she talked about her husband and what happened with the attack, and she basically said that she felt like elements of the Republican Party were responsible for the attack. And that's the thing I don't like about that guy. The language he uses is, and it won't affect him. It'll affect you and I, because these people are invigorated and I guess you could say radicalized by the rhetoric. We saw it in Charlottesville. We saw it with Kyle Rittenhouse, and now Kyle Rittenhouse has renounced his master, and they've turned on him. But I respect that G. Like, that's the thing. Like they talk about reasoning behind the assassination attempt. They might want to see where Mike Pence was, and if he had any contact with that guy, because he tried to line Mike Pence up January 6th, and that's his vice president. So, like, if they feel like you turn on them, they ruthless. I'm a big mafia movie fan, and that's some gangster shit. Excuse my language. You're gonna try to line your vice president up, like, that's where the love, must not be any. But yeah, that was just crazy to me. Somebody broke in their house and almost, hit her husband with a hammer 3 times. So that's wild. I didn't hear how he was doing. I don't think they said during the segment this morning, but that's crazy, man. Like, and these people, they won't what they won't say is the guy who went to the supermarket in Buffalo was, radicalized by that rhetoric. They won't. They never can seem to make those connections when it's, you know someone, white terrorism. Let's just call it white terrorism because that's what it is. And we've been living under terror for ever since ever since black people have been in this country. So and we still are. And you can say what you want. I don't want the person representing me in any way to be talking like that. You shouldn't incite violence. You know what I mean? You shouldn't. That's we don't need you to incite violence. It's more guns in America than there are people. So we can be violent anytime we get ready. We don't need any help. And violence is random and it takes place all the time. So for the person who is the leader of this country, I mean, even when we're going to war, you shouldn't be saying things like that. But you would have to have been in war, had been close to war, to have respect for it, and he hasn't. That's why he picked this guy. He picked J.D. Vance, who, in my opinion, is a Sarah Palin pick. It reminds me of McCain picking Sarah Palin, which was the beginning of the end, right? So, yeah. So, like I said, I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not telling you I'm endorsing either one, and I definitely don't endorse either party because black people need our own party. That's basically what we need. We need a party, a black party. That's why I started, black, uh, or that's why we started black. I won't say me. It's not my organization. It's the people's organization. Excuse me. So yeah. So we're coming up on about an hour. Like I said, this is the initial broadcast. I am going to work out my kinks between now, but I'm gonna try to do it every Sunday night about 8:30. I won't be 20 minutes late the next time. And yeah, if you want to hit me up, want to leave a comment, didn't get any phone calls that I see. Maybe I'll get one. I love to talk to people and create a dialogue or back and forth. So yeah, give me a call. Shoot me a DM or a email. It's cleesyfashizi@gmail.com. The show number is 910-430-9595. On Twitter, I am D Freezy. On Instagram, D Freezy73. On Facebook, The Gospel of Cleveland. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you next time. Peace. Black Power.